The Ildegizids, Eldiguzids or Ildenizids, also known as Atabegs of Azerbaijan, were an Iranian dynasty of Kipchak origin which controlled most of northwestern Persia, eastern Transcaucasia, including Arran, most of Azerbaijan and Djibal.At. Their extent, the territory under their control, roughly corresponds to most of northwestern and upper central modern Iran, most of the regions of modern Azerbaijan and smaller portions in modern Armenia, Turkey and Iraq, down to the death in war 1194 of Toghril b.Arslan, last of the Great Seljuq rulers of Iraq and Persia. The Ildenizids ruled as theoretical subordinates of the Sultans, acknowledging this dependence on their coins almost down to the end of the Seljuqs. Thereafter, they were in effect an independent dynasty, until the westward expansion of the Mongols and the Khwarezm Shahs weakened and then brought the line to its close. Atabeg was the title conferred upon the Turkic officers who served as guardians of minor Seljuq rulers. In the political circumstances of the time, Atabegs were not only tutors and vice-regents of the princes but also de facto rulers. At the height of Eldeguzid power, the territory stretched from Isfahan in the south to the borders of Kingdom of Georgia and Shirvan in the north. However, closer to the end of the reign, amidst continuous conflicts with the Kingdom of Georgia, the Eldeguzid territory shrank to include only Azerbaijan and eastern Transcaucasia. The historical significance of the Atabeg of Azerbaijan lies in the firm control over northwestern Persia during the later Seljuk period and also the role in Transcaucasia as champions of Islam against the Bagratid Georgian kings. In 1136, Sultan Masud appointed Shams ad-Din Ildeniz to be an Atabeg of Arslan Shah, the juvenile successor of the throne, and transferred Azerbaijan to his possession as Iqta. Ildegizids chose Badr as his residence, and attracted the local emirs to his camp. From 1161, the Seljuk princes at Hamadan fell under the control of the Atabeg of Azerbaijan, Shams ad-Din Ildeniz. Shams ad-Din Ildeniz became the ruler of the remainder of the North Iran and South Caucasus of the Seljuk Empire. He was taking every measure to consolidate the power of his own appointed but powerless sultan. The word Azam was added to his title and he was also known as Atabeg-i-Azam. All of the state's subsequent rulers used to hold this title. During his reign, Ildeniz could subdue a spacious territory between the Caucasus and Persian Gulf. The territory belonging to him stretched from the Gate of Tiflis up to Mekran. He had possessed Azerbaijan, Arran, Shirvan, Djibal, Hamadan, Gilan, Mazandaran, Isfahan and Ray. The Atabegs of Mosul, Kerman and Fars, as well as the feudalists of Shirvan, Khuzestan, Hilit, Arzan Arum and Miraga became his liegemen. Georgia, whose army was strengthened by 40,000 Kipchak Turkic warriors, was the strongest antagonist of the Shams ad-Din Ildeniz. In 1138, Georgian King Dmitry I attacked the earthquake-ridden city of Ganja. While leaving the city, his troops carried off the well-known Iron Gate of Ganja as the trophy, which up to this date remains on display at the Gelati Monastery. From 1161 onwards they began to make plundering raids on ISNI, Dvin, Ganja, Nakhchivan and other regions controlled by Atabegs. Ildeniz formed a union with other Seljuqids in the beginning of the 1160s to fight against the Georgians, and in 1163 the Allies inflicted a defeat on King George III of Georgia. In response to this defeat, the King of Georgia occupied Ganja in 1165. The Georgians took several fields in Azerbaijan and they could reach such far-away cities as Nakhchivan and Beylakan. As a rule, Georgians used to be paid the tribute and then they left. In 1173, Atabeg Ildeniz began his big campaign against Georgia but he was defeated. Atabeg's troops retreated and Ildeniz died in 1174 in Nakhchivan. Muhammad Jahan Pahlavi. After the death of Shams al-Din Ildenizids in 1175, the Seljuq Sultan Arslan Shah tried to escape from the yoke of the Atabeg of Azerbaijan but failed, and was poisoned to death by Shams ad-Din's son, the new Atabeg Muhammad Jahan Pahlavi. Pahlavi transferred his capital from Nakhchivan to Hamadan in western Iran, and made his younger brother Arslan Othman the ruler of Azerbaijan. In 1174, Arslan captured Tabriz, which subsequently became his capital. Jahan Pahlavi suppressed all rebellious emirs and appointed faithful Mamluks to key positions. He apportioned each of them any region or town as Iqta. The 12 years of his rule are considered the most peaceful period of the state's existence. Under his reign the central power was strengthened and no foreign enemy invaded the territory belonging to the Atabegs. Friendly relations with Khwarezm Shahs, the rulers of Central Asia, were founded. All those facts had positive influence on the development of science, handicraft, trade and arts. Arslan. After Muhammad Jahan Pahlavi's death, his brother Arslan ascended the throne. He continued his successful struggle against the Seljuq rulers. At the same time, the central power began to get weaker as Mamluks, who had strengthened the power in their allotments, did not want to obey the Sultan. Even Shirvan Shah-Aksudin, who used to be Atabeg's liegeman, decided to benefit from the weakening of the Atabegs' power and invaded his territories in 1186. But he was defeated. His troops had to flee in pursuit of Atabeg's army. They reached Baku. At the same time, Arslan occupied all the land of Shirvan lying between Shamaka and Derbent. In 1191, Toghril III, the last Seljuq ruler, was overthrown by Arslan. Then, by Caliph leave, he proclaimed himself a sultan. The same year, Arslan, who had become the individual ruler of the Great Seljuq Empire, was assassinated. The power was divided among his three sons, Abu Bakr, Qilukanande and Amir Amiran. Abu Bakr governed Azerbaijan and Arran, and his brothers were the rulers of Khorasan and several neighboring regions. Soon, these three successors began to fight for the throne, and Abu Bakr was the one to win this war. But the state's defense capability was stricken. Khwarezm Shahs and Georgians' non-stopping forays aggravated the situation in the country and speeded up its decay. Uzbek. This process was speeded up during the reign of Atabeg Uzbek, who was enthroned after Abu Bakr's death. In that period, Hassan Jalal Amiran began his separative activities, a fact which shook the fundamentals of the weakened state, with the result that it was invaded by the troops of Georgian Queen Tamar. The troops occupied several Azerbaijani towns, but they had to return to Georgia. The Atabeg state fell in 1225 when it was included into the Khwarezmian Empire. Finally, the area of it passed to Mongol Empire in 1231. Persian culture. Much like the Seljuqs under the Eldiguzids, Persian culture and literature flourished, and Persian was the primary language. See also Nojat al-Majaz for many of the poets of the area. List of Eldiguzids. Shams al-Din Ildenizids or Eldiguzids. Muhammad Jahan Pahlavi, Arslan, Abu Bakr, Uzbek.